Red 2 standing by, all 4 lit, and in the green. Welcome back to Donkey Kong 64. Before we wind up starting, I'm going to show off a few little things now that we've actually acquired some gold bananas, some battle crowns, and some fairies. So, we can go into Kong Battle and play multiplayer. That is accessed when you have 1 Battle Arena crown. We have Mystery. This allows us to play various little animations we get, the various cutscenes throughout the story, really. This allows us to play certain bonuses. We haven't got 2 of them, which are the Jetpack and On Guard's Arena, but we will get to that. I'll do that all at once. We don't have 10, we don't have 15, and we don't have 20, but there are things that we can enable for later on. So for now, let's actually... Let's actually set the camera back to free, because I think I had a bit of trouble with that in Frantic Factory. It kept trying to follow me, and that was part of why I misjudged things. Part of it is that I'm pretty terrible too. Anyway, let's get going. Want to start off with Chunky as we head off into the next level, Gloomy Galleon. Things are not necessarily better down where it's wetter, because we will have to deal with a lot of fiddly elements, and that brings up probably the main discussion topic, water levels. Water levels have a real habit of, well, causing a lot of stress and trouble for people. Now note that this is actually a blue switch. We can't do anything about that just yet, but we will be able to do something once we get the next boss key, because we do need that in order to actually access those switches, but only 30 bananas needed to get in here. I'll get on to the main topic once we've seen the introductory cutscene for Gloomy Galleon.
I underestimated those cars. Their progress is unexpected. Chief Technician! I trust the Blastomatic will soon be ready to be activated.
We've had a few technical problems, Your Majesty, and my men are all lazy. He's lying, sire. He's always asleep. Please forgive me, oh great one. We've worked really hard.
Guards, make sure no one leaves until my machine is ready.
Gotta make a run for it. Pretty much furthers the parallels between claptraps and dogs, doesn't it? Anyway, Gloomy Galleon, we start off in a network of caves right at the beginning. And it's been a little while since I recorded. Good-o. Now, there is, of course, a lot of stuff to do with the water level in this game. Or in this particular level. You will have to raise and lower the water depending on which bananas you're after. This is a bit of a nuisance. Things like that are often quite bothersome elements of water levels, basically. Now, there is a Kasplat in here. And it's Lanky's Kasplat along with some bananas for Tiny, but we can't do anything in there. So yeah, water levels. Always a bit frustrating because there's often manipulation of water levels, as I've mentioned. There's often very slow travel along the way, which is, let's be honest, slightly bothersome. Okay. That's a remarkable curveball. They can generally be pretty claustrophobic as well, depending on exactly how the level is set up. If you're swimming through a lot of dark and dingy tunnels and things like that, then you're going to have a really, really difficult time if you don't like going into underwater levels. If people hate water, then a lot of the swimming is going to be an absolute nightmare for them, and I can sincerely understand why. There's so much that can actually scare you. You don't quite know what's under the surface, and that is very true in real life. Part of the fear of water levels actually comes from the fact that the majority of the Earth's surface is A, water, and B, largely undiscovered. Okay, maybe we could do with the camera being on follow. It's going all over the place. Alrighty, so... smash these open with the primate punch. For a banana fairy? Yeah, there is a lot to discover under the water. There we are, that's what I'm trying to do. Perfect shot. But yeah, with so much to discover, so much we don't know. Just imagine how many interesting creatures are lurking beneath the surface, but at the same time, just imagine the depths and dangers in the dingy abysses. There's honestly a lot to be scared of when it comes to water levels, so I can understand why people don't necessarily like deep water. Like, it's sort of the atmosphere I feel you get in... how did I wind up walking past that? The atmosphere you get in Sector 4 in Metroid Fusion. The music always makes me feel that you're going through some dark and dingy abyss, that you don't know what is lurking just under the surface. There's so much that is just potentially really scary. And it's that which makes me appreciate, to a degree, the designs of water levels and how some of them will actually go out of their way to try and be reasonably relaxing. Some of them obviously just won't. And it can depend on a lot of things. Like, for example, the music, the way the music is presented. The caves of Gloomy Galleon, for example, very gentle, much calmer than the main music. You get out into the main areas of Gloomy Galleon and you'll have a much more foreboding piece. It's just those little changes. Like, you compare, say, Aquatic Ambience, one of the most iconic pieces from the original Donkey Kong 64. I forgot it. Not the original Donkey Kong Country. I forgot it does that. But yeah, you compare Aquatic Ambience to Waterworld from DK64, and just how much darker overall Waterworld is when compared to... Whoops. How much darker Waterworld is when it's compared to Aquatic Ambience. There is a distinct difference in the way everything makes you feel. You can basically get a great demonstration of all those musical transitions and things like that for the level Irate 8. You've got this really, really calm and chill piece that shows up at the beginning. It's really nice and mellow. Then you get all the underwater bits, which are building up the tension of the fight. It's so well done, and it's especially noteworthy that one of those actually conjures up memories of DKC2 by being a remix of Lockjaw's Saga, the Shiphold music, which I'll probably get to a bit later on. But overall, there just tends to be something a little bit sinister in some ways about a lot of water levels, but at the same time there can be something tranquil and peaceful. It all depends on the way you want to set things up and the presentation you want to make in your water levels that will dictate how people feel. I do have some chunky bananas to get, but I want to actually wind up realizing I've walked past the first tag barrel. It's interesting that you just can't drop off ledges. So I need to go over here, and then I can go back to the tag barrel because I want DK to wind up facing the upcoming challenge. Oh, camera. Maybe taking it off follow was a bad idea? That's a wall. Oh, good God. Wow. Okay, I think I'm probably going to have it stick to follow because that was strange. That was really strange. Anyway, we'll get DK back for this particular challenge. But yeah, there's so much atmosphere in water levels, basically. A lot that just can either help you relax or just make you feel utterly terrified depending on where you are at the time. Got them both. Okay. How did I wind up getting the... It's the C... The C stick is weird. I still prefer... Well, it's not really a true C stick as such, but I prefer the C buttons of the old days. That was so much easier to work with. Oh, I nearly ran into an explosive barrel. But yes, kabooms will wind up blowing up on you, and we've got some coins for Diddy here, but there's no real reason to go into Cranky's lab if you're looking for potions. But... Watch this! You've got 15 banana medals? I don't believe it! You must have made them yourself! I suppose you want my surprise now. Well, I've got this little game for you to play on my computer. Score over 5,000 points for a chance to win the Rareware coin, but I know a score like that is way out of your league. Sonny, why not give it a go anyway? I could do with a good laugh. So we have to take on the jetpack game, which is probably going to be a large focus of this. So, I can at least use the plus pad like I could with the DK. That was bad. I know I can shoot. Now we have to try and assemble our rocket ship, shoot the meteors for a few points here and there, pick up the little bits and pieces and the fuel that comes along, like that. And basically use your... headshot. I'm already down several lives. The diagonal ones are probably the ones I do worst against. Basically, you just have to try and avoid being killed. Tcha! I knew you'd be hopeless at a real game. Try again, donkey! Let's try to make that a bit less humiliating, shall we? Some of them are fairly predictable, so we'll be able to work out where we're going and what we're doing some of the time. You only get 25 points for shooting asteroids? I thought I got hit in the head then. Alright, let's take a few of those out and dodge, dodge, dodge. Basically, don't get stuck under platforms. And don't do anything stupid. I've got a basic idea of what I need to do. I just have to keep dodging and be very careful about surviving. What's even more fun, though, is that you actually have to wait for the Rareware coin to drop. I don't think I should have been hit by that, but okay. You have to wait for the Rareware coin to drop and then pick it up. So basically, fuel your spaceship up here, but don't worry too much if you are just going for points and things like that. Don't really bother going to the next level because these are a little bit more predictable. Just be very careful and very patient. That's pretty much all I can say. Except, of course, if they reappear right on top of you. I'm probably going to have to fast forward this. on, how did I get the Rareware coin? Oh, what? You got my Rareware coin? That's impossible. You must have cheated. All you can do now is play for fun, I suppose. Interested? Not really, in all fairness. Sorry about that, Cranky. I'll piss off then. Rightio, so we have in our possession one Rareware coin. And it is also time to lose myself in the camera. Definitely got to put that on follow, and we'll do the battle arena. As I get back to talking about water levels. We have more critter carnage, and this time there are 4 of them. Alright, Alright, boys. Oh, I'm going to do it. Alright, gang, come on. It's time for laps. It's time for laps. We've got to work really hard. We've got the big game against Snowmad U coming up. And let me tell you, we do not want to be losing that one. This is the crunch match. I want to feel the waves of sweat coming off people. I want to hear those muscles screaming. I want hard work. I want you guys to be struggling, to be collapsing, to thinking you can't go any further, but then you pull yourselves off the ground and you do this. We will be faster. We will be stronger. We will be fitter. And we are going to win. And I don't want to hear anybody disagreeing. I don't want to hear anybody giving up. Because if you give up for your team. Well done, lads. That'll be all. Alright, that's the last time we can make the Kremlings run laps. We will have to deal with more serious opposition along the way in battle arenas. Yeah, back to our little discussions on water levels. So we've basically talked about the aesthetics and how everything winds up getting set up that way. The different styles, the different music and everything like that, but so many of them, along the way, have a history of being pretty crap. If we're thinking water levels and their general infamy, first one that comes to mind is probably the water temple from Ocarina of Time. It's a pain. It's sincerely a pain, but sometimes that's just how it goes. Now, we need DK to open that one, so we'll come back later. What's out this way? Are they more tiny bananas? So, our Kosher buddy. I'll just divert from what I was saying. To defeat Koshers, you have to hit them when their guard is down. If you try to hit them with an orange, they somehow have the prescience to bat it away. You can defeat them when they get their clubs stuck in the ground, but they have to do vertical strikes. Alternatively, that will take care of them. So, who do we need to open this? We need Diddy. So, a little bit more to do along the way, but we'll go and get those bananas with Lanky. But yeah, most people, they think of water levels, it's the infamous water temple from Ocarina of Time. That is probably the example of really annoying water level. For some reason, there seem to be heaps and heaps of them in the Zelda series. Probably the first true water level of the Zelda series was the Swamp Palace in A Link to the Past. It's not too annoying, it's mostly water themed, but by then you have the flippers, you're able to swim and so on. So it's not too bad to navigate, and you get the hook shot out of it, which is a really good... It's a really good item to have. It was pretty revolutionary first time it appeared, and it's been very consistent and very helpful ever since. After that, though, the water dungeons tend to get a bit irritating along the way. Angler's Tunnel is okay, but you could soft lock yourself in the original game. That is the original game of Link's Awakening. This was removed in the DX version, but basically, there was a spot where you could make a jump once you had the Pegasus boots. And if you made it, you could wind up using a key on a door that you weren't supposed to, because the other key opened a door you would then need to get the flippers, but the problem is it was underwater. So basically, you couldn't get the flippers without that last key, but you couldn't get that last key without the flippers. This soft lock was removed later on, so really not a horrible water level overall. But then you've got the water temple, which was generally just confusing to navigate. It pretty much got to the point where I think AGA Anuma apologized for making it so fiddly. It's not entirely horrible, it's actually a fairly mellow experience. In terms of overall aesthetics, it almost feels like a Roman bath, and there aren't that many enemies. It's just the irritating water puzzles, and if you don't like deep water, you're going to be in for a pretty bad time. Having to fiddle around and change the water level and all that is also pretty irritating. Speaking of, I'd probably better head out and go and get Diddy, because Diddy can get his Kasplat at, well, we'll call it low tide. There's going to be a lot of switching Kongs. It gets bothersome really fast. So yeah, there was that. Then there was the Great Bay Temple, which was effectively just a pumping station. I don't know why they called it a temple. But then again, I suppose they do say that God is everywhere, or whatever God's Termina worships. So... ah, yes, we do need to be at low tide for this. Right, that's chunky. Takes a lot longer like that. Now, there is a ship with 5 doors that will wind up opening something for Chunky. We can use On Guard in this area. There's a tank barrel up there, and there is Snide's HQ, but that's really about it. So we'll probably go back and get the tiny bananas, and then we'll go and get Chunky. So we've already got the general irritations of a water level, combined with having to go back and switch around. The water temple was pretty big on backtracking, and so was the Great Bay Temple, but at least it made the ice arrows a bit more useful. That's something. That is a fairly good perk. Then, there's not really a water dungeon per se in Oracle of Seasons, but you've got Jabu Jabu's Belly, which is kind of an interesting one. It's very different, obviously, to the one in Ocarina of Time, and you basically have to keep raising and lowering the water so you can navigate through the 3 floors. It is kind of like Ocarina of Time in a sense. It's kind of like the water temple. But you had the advanced swimming of the mermaid suit, which actually made things a bit more bearable for swimming underwater. Although having to tap the button instead of actually just sort of move around normally was a bit of a nuisance. That was how the mermaid suit worked. You tap the button, and the more you tap the button, the faster you moved. A bit of a weird one in all fairness, but you could do deep diving to certain spots. It was fairly handy along the way. Probably could have been executed a bit better, and I would love to see a remaster of the Oracle games in the style of Link's Awakening, but there you go. You've got a sort of water-themed level in terms of Tower of the Gods, which is water-themed at the beginning, but you actually just have to wait for the tide to rise and fall, as such, which isn't much of a problem at all. So it's not too bad, it's got a beautiful aesthetic. You've got an ice-themed water dungeon in the Temple of Droplets, which is really beautiful and combines a lot of ice-level tropes along the way. Beautiful aesthetics, but ice physics, of course we all know my feelings on those. Then you've got the Lakebed Temple, which really, really draws up the claustrophobic sense of the claustrophobic side of water levels. It's very narrow in places. You're often going down quite deep, and there's a lot of swimming work to be done. It can be pretty rough in all fairness. So, there is an ocean temple in Spirit Tracks, which is a pretty nice level. It does have a pretty cool boss. And that was where you got the whip. So bonus points for that. It was the first incarnation of the whip in the series. It also popped up in Skyward Sword, which was really good because that sort of helped with the idea that what is it? The Ancient Cistern really felt like an Indiana Jones movie. The Ancient Cistern generally doesn't get the stereotype of water levels being crap in the Zelda games on account of the fact it's so beautifully designed, it's not heavily water focused, and it's also basically it's mostly based on a Buddhist parable, the story of the spider's thread. The way everything is set up, how perfectly thematic it is. Oh god, it's gambling. How perfectly thematic the Ancient Cistern is. It's a really beautiful level. Well, let's see how well I do. I've glitched out the music again. Okay, we gotta speed up. I'm actually accepting that well done. I'm surprised I did that well. So there we go. See, things like this, like, it's very fortunate that the Kongs can breathe, because the Kongs just can keep swimming and not have to hold their breath, because going into the ship holds like that, I'll level with you, that would probably be pretty terrifying to have to deal with. Like, being stuck in those enclosed spaces, even with dive equipment. I think we'd better get Lanky out for the last little bit on this episode. Jetpack didn't take anywhere near as long as I thought it was going to. Maybe I'm getting a little better. At least you did get to see me humiliate myself right at the start. But, like, when water levels tone up the claustrophobic atmosphere, they really tone it up. And there's another fun element about this. I'll get back to the Ancient Cistern, but the ships in this, it's K-Rool's fleet. Oh, I need to be a bit closer, I think. Do I? Nope. So, let's get an introduction as we dive down into the Animal Buddy Lanky users on guard. I was trying to get the bananas! Well, we will get onto On Guard in the next episode. We'll just hold it here for now. But thank you very much for joining me. Till next time, this is Red 2, returning to base.